What's up, everyone? It's your host with the most, Francis Da Costa, and today I got an interesting feature that I want to do for y'all. Basically, it's titled "Will Next Gen Consoles Be Held Back by Current Gen Consoles?" Now, the simple and honest answer to this is yes and no. So let's start with the yes. You don't have to look too far back in the current generation of consoles to see evidence of this. And by too far back, I mean back in 2013 when the PS4 and Xbox One were released. Most, if not all, third party studios released their games on both previous consoles. And by that, I mean the PS3 and Xbox 360 and the current generation of consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One. For the first year of the current generation of consoles, most of these games came out on the previous generation as well. Compare these cross-generational games. Let's look at Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Thanks IGN for making this video. As you can see, Assassin's Creed Black Flag on PS3 looks exactly like Assassin's Creed Black Flag on PS4, with the PS4 taking advantage of some extra stuff, but not enough to make it look like a new generation game. Another example, Battlefield 4. Thanks again IGN. And again, other than better resolution, better textures and reflections, doesn't really look like a next gen game. The PS4 version looks pretty much like the PS3 version. So now I'm hoping that everyone can see why I say yes, next gen consoles will be held back by current gen consoles. No, still not convinced? Alright, more convincing needs to be done. Let's look at it from a game developer's point of view, specifically a third party developer. When a developer moves from one generation to the next, it's not an instant move. Developers have to move their knowledge, skills, assets, and more from one generation to the next. That's why cross-generation games look pretty much the same, because developers spent most of their time developing a game for the previous gen and basically ported it to the next gen. The game was not built ground up under next generation specifications. Now, I'm not trying to shame developers or give them a bad reputation because of this. This is just the way the industry works. Looking back, there were no cross-generation games from PS1 to PS2, minus the sports games, of course. Note, I do stand corrected on this, but I can't remember any at the moment. But when games started becoming really big, moving into the HD era, big game publishers and the developers started to go into overdrive, releasing games on schedules, and these schedules would coincide with new consoles, and thus necessitate the developers to make two versions of the game, one for current gen and one for next gen. And leading into this is the fact that it's simply good business. Because most of the player base is on the current generation, it just makes sense. Just look at the PS4. With an installed base of 108 million players, publishers and developers will not risk leaving them behind as we transition into the next gen, hence cross-generational games. This is simply the industry. Now, onto the no part of this answer. Whether truly next gen games come will arrive from the first party studios. Ooh, yes, baby. This is where we'll see games that simply cannot work on current gen consoles. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where next gen begins. Somewhat disappointed that Microsoft will not be doing this next gen exclusive hustle with Sony, as they have stated they will not have next gen exclusives for the first 2 years of the console's life cycle, which is understandable. Again, business. But kudos to Sony for taking the risk to release next gen titles only. If I had to put my money on it, Sony will probably have 2 to 3 next gen console launch exclusives to show players why they need a PS5, and with the help from third party developers, increase their launch catalog. Now, Microsoft has already touted that Halo Infinite will be a launch title for Xbox Series X, which is great, but it's also launching on Xbox One, which doesn't really make it a next gen game. And for my money, both games will look very similar, with the difference being resolution, textures, and reflections. Personally, I'm happy with Sony's approach to next gen. Show me why I need a PS5, Sony. How do you do that? With games that are next gen. Games that take full control and make use of the full capabilities of the PS5. I want to play games that are only capable on PS5, Not too worried about third-party developers as they will fill some of the void with their cross-gen releases. But if Sony can keep doing what they've been doing throughout this current generation, then paint me as a happy soon-to-be PS5 owner. And that's it on my view on the cross-generation period, guys. And if you like what you see and heard, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest content that I drop. And from me, your host with the most, peace.